Hey everybody, it's Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com coming to you with the Monday edition of Today in Sports Betting. Happy Martin Luther King Day, everybody. Hope everybody is having a 3-day weekend. If you didn't, I hope your Monday goes fast. And yeah, there you go. Scott, any Martin Luther King thoughts you want to share with everybody?
Overall, no. I think it really needs to be said how impactful his, life was on society in general. For the sake of today, if you do have the extra day off, you have endless NBA to look at, kind of like Christmas Day. So, yeah, kick back, relax. If you're at work, then I feel your pain because we're working, but I think it's a little bit, I'd say, more convenient the way that we work in our own place and people potentially having to go somewhere. But still, yeah, really not much to be said. Of course, we're all thankful for the impact he had, and yeah, it's nice that the NBA kind of takes this day in stride and extends all the TV coverage on the calendar, and yeah, we get to watch a lot of basketball today.
Very good. I have a lot of favorite King quotes other than the usual ones. One of my favorites is rarely do we find men who willingly engage in hard, solid thinking. There is an almost universal quest for easy answers and half-baked solutions. Nothing pains some people more than having to think, and I totally agree with that. And that actually kind of fits sports betting as well. Everybody wants the easy ones. Everybody wants the no doubters, and that's just not the way life works. Not in sports betting, and not in real life either. And one more note before we get going: if you haven't been to Memphis, if you do get a chance to go to Memphis and see the Lorraine Motel and everything they have set up there, it's very sobering. It's very cool. I tend to use cool as obviously it's not Niagara Falls, but it's absolutely something that should be on most Americans' list just to see and experience if you get the opportunity if you're in that area. So, with that being said, let's talk a little sports. Scott had the NFL over the weekend, as you mentioned. We got a lot of basketball today, a little bit of college, a lot of NBA. How'd your NFL go, sir?
Overall, not too well, at least on the one play I gave out. I know personally, I slammed Tampa money line after, I'd say, with about a minute to go in the third quarter.
Right.
I got a decent price there. I could just tell in the middle of the game, which we'll get into in a second about Breeze and what happened there. But overall, I really thought that I wasn't shocked Green Bay ended up rolling, especially with all the injuries that the Rams had. Other than that, I wouldn't say much really surprised me. I think the one thing that was kind of annoying about yesterday was the fact that I feel like my reads on both games were spot on,
Right.
but Kansas City didn't blow it open because Mahomes got injured, and that changed the entire complexion. Because I do think if Mahomes was healthy for the entire game, I think they would have won by 14 plus.
It's possible. It's
Cleveland
possible.
couldn't get off the field. At least their defense couldn't get off the field. It was just
Well,
3 yards
yeah, but
every play.
it's you never know because Andy with a two touchdown plus lead will
He
tend to
takes his foot off the gas.
yeah, and he tends to play a lot of prevent too. So
Just saying that I know you don't really know about all that stuff, but at the end of the day, Cleveland's defense was as overmatched as I thought it was going to be. Kansas City was going up and down, 7 yards of play, just 3 yards all over the place. And then Mahomes gets injured, and everyone in Kansas City simultaneously has a heart attack. And and you had Henny come in, who I forgot was still in the league. I still remember him at Michigan. We're
right.
talking about journeyman quarterbacks. The guy's been around for an eternity. But yeah, he played pretty well. The interception was atrocious. But other
Horrible,
than that,
horrible.
though, uh, he made the big play on fourth down to Hill. It was terrible coverage. I don't know why you're not pressing everyone at the line when you need an inch or why they went shotgun. But either way, were you okay with them going for it? I did not think they were going to go for it.
No, nobody thought they were going to go for it. I personally, I thought the play before that, I thought they should have run the draw, run the clock, and punted. Given the Cleveland the ball probably inside the 10 or 15 with
A minute to go, 90 yards. That was my thought process
yep,
as well.
yep.
So,
But when Henny took off, you saw the field. You're like, man, he's got a shot here. And originally, I thought it was a bad spot. I thought he'd made it.
his
And
forearm was down.
then
So
we saw that elbow and saw that it was actually a very, very good spot, as so often happens in the NBA in the NFL. So yeah, I was, and once it became that, I'm like, yeah, I'm totally fine. You have to trust Andy there, dude. It's part of being a Chiefs fan.
I was expecting a bunch of hard counts, a delay a game, and then a punt. But I thought if they were going to go for it, you go QB sneak, of course. But they went shotgun, and guy was wide open. So
Beautiful. It was, yeah, the okey doke there as far as the hard count goes. When everybody in the stadium, everybody watching, that's why I texted to my buddies. I said, it's one thing to fool the Cleveland defense, but when you fool Tony Romo,
mm-hmm.
you've really pulled it off.
Well, I figured worst case scenario was you drain the clock down to 1 and call timeout.
Sure,
I thought that's what they were going to do no matter what.
That's what everybody thought they were going to do, and everybody's standing there. Yeah, it was beautiful, and it gave them that just half a beat to get Hill free, and you don't need much time with Hill, man. You just don't. They've run that play twice before in this very similar circumstances. They ran it against Miami, ran it against Tampa, and it worked one more time. So, yeah.
Well, I know that we disagreed a little bit on that Browns Chiefs game.
Yep.
Of course, the Mahomes getting injured changed the whole complexion of that game. I know we also disagreed a lot about the Tampa game. And, yeah, I believe you like New Orleans in that one.
I underestimated how bad Breeze was going to be. I mean, you just can't handicap for one of the greatest of all time throwing 3 terrible picks and giving them the ball. The worst field position they had after one of those picks was midfield.
Yep.
So Tampa did nothing. I mean,
well, the game changed once Cook fumbled. So
well, that was huge too. But I mean, there was so many. But you can't get away from 3 bad picks, dude. Fumbles are going to happen. You just don't count on Breeze to throw picks like that. Were you impressed by Tampa?
No.
You think Tampa has anything for Green Bay next week?
I can't say that they have nothing because you never know. Of course, that's why you play the game. But at the end of the day, Tampa, no. I didn't think they looked good against Washington either. I think their offense looked good against Washington. I think their defense hasn't really looked as dominant as people made it out to be earlier this season. Now, of course, you look at the numbers from yesterday's game, and people are going to say Tampa's defense are a bunch of world beaters, and they're going to give Rodgers some problems. I don't see how Rodgers does not completely carve up this defense all day, every day next week. Unless there's a massive weather issue, but I really just felt like Tampa was just pressing everyone and basically just said, I know this guy can't throw it more than 10 yards, so let's see what happens. And that's why I live bet the game. I had no skin in the game, even though I told you I like Tampa to win the game outright. And I was watching the game, and I could just tell Breeze could not lead 75-yard drives. He just couldn't do it. I mean, they were gift-wrapped. I mean, of course, you had the punt touchdown that was called back on that block in the back, which on the replay was a good call. But I always like to see them let the punt returners act like Devin Hester for a little bit. Yeah. So I was kind of hoping it stood, and then he got injured, and that kind of changed the whole special teams angle. But just watching the game, you could tell early on when they settled for those 2 red zone field goals inside about the 15-yard line. That's not good. And Breeze, he just couldn't sustain long drives. Or at least he couldn't finish them off. And you just knew as the game went on, those were going to come back to bite New Orleans because Breeze just had so many opportunities and he just couldn't really do anything. And I know that people were defending Breeze because he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and I get that. But it gave off a lot of Peyton Manning Broncos Super Bowl run year games there. And I know that Peyton won it all, so people don't really look back on that negatively.
Oh, he was awful.
He was awful.
Yeah, it was dreadful that season. As somebody that followed the AFC West and got to see him twice, he was terrible.
He was terrible. But the point is that Breeze in that game threw, I think, maybe 8 fadeaway passes into the dirt because he couldn't get away from the pass rush and he just had to get rid of the ball quickly.
Yeah.
He looked lost. I mean, you go through the numbers. I didn't even realize Breeze's numbers were that bad. I just thought that he was awful when I watched him play. And then I saw the numbers, and I realized he had 134 passing yards.
I thought he did a little better than that. But...
well, no, I'm looking at it. He had 134 passing yards.
Oh, after sacks?
He had 3.9 yards on average per completion. He was terrible. See, For me, I'm not surprised because you know that I've been down on Breeze all year,
Right.
and now I feel like you know why.
Well, I think we
He's
both
pro-
have.
what?
You know, he's he's between being injured and just losing his skill set. He's lost his fastball, and that's it.
Correct, but it's one of those situations where I don't know if this was a controversial take. I thought Peyton should have considered benching him. I know, of course, and you know the final result now, you're going to say that, but during the game, just watching Breeze, I knew as soon as Tampa went up early in the fourth, New Orleans had no shot.
Oh, you know what I was looking at when I saw because I saw 190 passing yards, and I was looking at total yards. I forgot.
Winston had the big completion.
That's right. That's right. That's why I was like, yeah, that's why I was like, what? Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say was that I saw the writing on the wall last year because I thought Breeze was to blame for the loss to Minnesota last year as well. You look at Breeze numbers in that game, 26 of 33, which is pretty good for completion percentage. He had 208 yards, 6.3 yards per completion, got sacked 3 times at a QBR of 49.3. He was terrible in that game. And I thought those games reminded me of each other because the best pass thrown by a Saints quarterback in both those games was not by Drew Brees. Because last year, Taysom Hill had the 50-yard catch to the 1. And then this year, you had the Winston play. But am I wrong? I know, of course, Peyton was kind of going to ride or die with his legendary quarterback who,
Yes.
helped build up his legacy.
Yes.
Did you think Winston should have came into the game if New Orleans wanted a shot to win? Because I thought Breeze had no chance to win the game.
Never even considered it as a remote possibility.
I did.
No, never.
I thought the Saints had a better chance to win with Jameis Winston in quarterback.
That wasn't the point. That's why it was never going to happen.
It's fair because it was probably Breeze's last game, and you can't bench him in his last game.
Yes, absolutely.
But I'm just throwing it out there. I think that the writing was on the wall in the third quarter when
was Drew Brees the third best quarterback on their roster this season? Quite possibly, yes. That's hard to argue with.
I'll give him a little bit more benefit of that over Taysom because I don't think Taysom really throws it that much. But I mean, Winston made one throw. The guy was wide open. It was a perfect throw, but the guy could have just taken a nap, and he was about 15 yards behind the defense. But no, Breeze was beyond awful.
Well, let me ask you this. Is it only because Drew Brees was so bad that we're not talking about how bad Brady was? Because Brady wasn't much better.
Brady wasn't good either, but at least Brady kept control of the ball.
Yeah, well, yes, he didn't.
That was the main thing there.
He didn't throw any picks. Congratulations.
It was one of those things where Brady looked terrible. I thought Breeze looked worse.
Yeah.
And truth is, for a QB duel that was built up for whatever, it's pretty underwhelming. No, at least from a quarterback play perspective. It was not good.
I compared it to Pacquiao Mayweather.
That's really how it played out.
That's exactly what it looked like. So,
now, I'm not going to roast Brady too hard because he did enough to win the game. And of course, his defense helped him with a lot of short fields. But really, the game changed when Tampa started establishing the run in the third quarter.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see what the week looks like. I don't want to make any picks yet before I see who's on the injury list and everything like that. But
you think Mahomes plays?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I don't. A couple of good signs for me: the fact that he ran off the field on his own power, but the fact that he was tweeting later. And
anything is possible.
I'm not. Andy was really weird about him actually having a concussion. If you saw his press conference,
I didn't see where he hit his head.
They said he hit
because the camera panned in. I couldn't tell if his helmet hit the ground or not.
They said it hit the ground. I didn't really see it. I didn't
see it either.
It was kind of a like a Diamond Dallas Page, like a DDT kind of sort of thing.
At first, I thought it was his knee. Like I didn't realize he hit his head. I just saw him get up and fall over, and I thought his knee was done. It's like, oh, he has a concussion, and I'm like, he hit his head on something. Yeah, we'll know a lot more after today, after his initial test. But to me, I think he goes. I know it's not like a regular injury. That's the problem with the concussion. It's pretty much out of the Chiefs' hands at this point. There's 5 steps basically that you have to go through in the concussion protocol. We'll see what happens. I know that kid's a gamer, and I also know that without Mahomes, I don't think they have much of a chance against Buffalo. That I will agree with. But just before we transition to college basketball, you have any thoughts on Breeze's career? Because I feel like it's kind of a paradox because he won a Super Bowl, which I mean, if Minnesota didn't turn the ball over 5 times and if Favre didn't throw the interception in field goal range, he might never made it to a Super Bowl. But
Well, wait a minute. Before you say that, if they can tackle Stephon Diggs on an out route, or
you call the pass interference. No, I'm just
don't have
throwing
a terrible pass interference call. He goes to 2 more Super Bowls.
I
So,
wasn't gonna. I was just going to go through the actual just method of his career. That was the high moment where they ended up winning the Super Bowl. Of course, some people might argue it was fluky. I give him full credit for it. I wasn't speaking on behalf of myself. I'm just saying in general. He has all those completions, highest completion percentage of all time. You know,
Yep.
he's going to be up there, whatever.
Yep.
He's 500 in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You have any thoughts on Breeze? Because
Yeah, should have got even better defense.
that was my stance, where it's one of the situations where you kind of look at Rodgers as well, and you look at, well, he only has 1 Super Bowl, so, you know, whatever. It's like, have you realized who was on his team defensively for the majority of his career? Because Rodgers and Breeze, I know that talent-wise, I know, of course, Rodgers wins into the Super Bowl this year. He puts that notion to bed. But right now, I think both their careers are kind of similar, where you look at them and say, this guy's an all-time great, but why is his playoff record not as good? And you go, wait a second, his defense is giving up 30 points per game plus in the playoffs every year?
Should have got either one of them a defense.
I think that you can make the argument. I don't think Breeze is a top 5 quarterback of all time. I think he's probably back-end top 10.
Good luck. Good luck making that argument.
What, that he's not a top 5 quarterback of all time?
Yeah.
I don't think he is, but I think he's top 10.
No.
You think he's top 5?
Yeah, I do.
I'd have to go through it all, but I'm actually trying to think about that now. You got Brady, Montana, out of order. Peyton.
Give me 5 that are better.
Well, I can think of 4 right now. I could think of Brady, Montana, Rodgers, Peyton. I think you got an argument with either Elway or Marino. I think you have an argument.
I think you have an argument with Manning as well.
I don't think that's even close. I think Peyton's better than Breeze.
Yeah.
But we can disagree on that. I think Peyton – I know some people would even argue Favre. I wouldn't, but people can argue Favre in that. But I don't know. I think that the conversation is there. If he is top 5, he's number 5. But I would personally have him probably around 6 or 7.
I don't know. They should have put a red and white striped shirt on Michael Thomas yesterday so somebody could find him.
I thought it was a touchdown. I thought his shin was down in bounds. But that was just my opinion. But, yeah, when your name is Can't Guard Mike and you have 0 catches, that's not really a good look, you know?
No, that's not a that was not a good look at all. I don't understand that. 4 targets, no catches. Yeah,
I thought the teams used players in a very weird way throughout the entirety of yesterday's games. I know that I had a play of the day that lost on Kareem Hunt over in receiving yards.
That made no sense.
He didn't touch the ball for 3 quarters, and then he touched in the 4th and he had a touchdown.
Yeah, he had 5 carries, 31 yards, I think. And
I don't know how you didn't get him more involved. You had Sorensen guarding him the entire game. You're telling me you couldn't find some one-on-one spots for him?
I told you with Sorensen and with Willie Gay out, that the receivers and the tight ends, the running backs and the tight ends should have had a field day.
They should have. Hunt wasn't on the field, or he didn't do anything for the first 3 quarters.
We were thrilled to see it.
Yeah, but oh well. But anyway, now college basketball time.
Yep, might as well. Seems like a letdown after talking NFL, but yeah, and we gotta wait a week. As long as there's no Civil War on Wednesday. So I found myself this morning waking up and almost like rooting for Civil War because it would push the games back a week. Mahomes could have another week to get healthy.
That's what Chiefs fans do when they try to.
I'm not saying I'm rooting for violent insurrection.
You're not rooting for a COVID outbreak, which would delay the season for another week and a half, but you wouldn't be against it. I can't relate because my teams never make the playoffs, so you're on your own on that one. But you do what you got to do to win, man.
You tell me the NFL wouldn't do anything to make sure Mahomes plays in that game.
You're telling me that you're worried about the NFL's ratings if it's Chad Henne versus Josh Allen instead of Mahomes?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. All right, bud. So let's take a look at college basketball. We got plenty of time. We got a whole week to yak about the playoffs. So yeah, I know. I'll just have to be patient here. So tonight we do have a couple pretty good college basketball games, Scott. One that we kind of saw coming and one that we didn't really see coming. We'll talk about that one first. That's the Florida State Seminoles against the Louisville Cardinals. Being played where, Scott?
It's at the Yum Center.
At the Yum Center. Just one Yum. That's right.
I learned. We removed the second Yum after consideration. I still think Yum Yum Center sounds better.
Can't argue with that one bit.
You know, one Yum will do it for now.
Louisville 2.5-point favorite. 141 is the total. Scott, two pretty good teams are playing in the ACC. Who you got?
Well, the truth is, Florida State, I like this team on paper. This team has kind of confused me lately because this team was playing really well to start the year, 4-0. Then ended up losing 2 out of 3 games. It was at a great undefeated home record against out-of-conference teams, and then lost to UCF by 12 as 14.5-point favorites, which really came out of nowhere. Then it lost to Clemson on the road. I'll give them a pass for that. I think Clemson's actually pretty good. Beat NC State and then beat North Carolina. Game was pretty close. But Florida State has some injuries, which I feel like need to be talked about. Scotty Barnes has an ankle injury. He's one of their best players, probably a first-round pick. Definitely an explosive freshman. And you also have MJ Walker, who's one of their best guards, who injured his ankle as well in the game against North Carolina, and he had to leave early. So I am assuming that at least one of them are not going to play in this game, or if they do, they'll be pretty limited. Louisville, on the other hand, had some injuries earlier in the year. Now it's getting a bit healthier. I have a hard time betting against Louisville in the Yum Center because, of course, Louisville with fans or without fans is one of the best home courts in all college basketball. 6-0 at home this season. Florida State's only played in one road game, 0-1. So for me, I think it makes sense that money's coming on Louisville. Open up at around -2. Now it's up to -2.5, even -3 starting to appear. I'll take the Cardinals in this one.
You know what Florida State doesn't do, Scott? They don't play a lot of defense.
No, because usually Florida State has several 7-foot-tall guys in the middle. This year they really only have one. So their rim protection hasn't been as good in the paint as it has been in recent years.
Yeah, they can't. They give up 70 on walking in from the bus. I'm with you. It's hard for me to go against Louisville here. I'm as far as their body of work goes. I'm not impressed by this Florida State team. I mean, what's their best win, Scott? I mean, Florida, I guess.
The best to win, it's a tricky one because I guess would be the Florida game, except in that game, that was where Florida's best player collapsed about 10 minutes into the game.
That's right.
So Florida was winning that game pretty handily.
Right.
Then he got injured, and then once he got injured, Florida State blew it open. But even that one, I guess, impressive win, even though Florida's not very good, that's the one caveat there. Maybe the home overtime win against Indiana. It really has not been an impressive year for Florida State. But then again, you look at its schedule, it's won most of the games it should be winning. So
they had a 30-point win over NC State as a 3.5-point favorite. I mean, I guess that's impressive. We talk about outperforming the line.
I don't think NC State's that good either. But I remember I said I liked Florida State in that game, and they won that. I watched them against North Carolina over the weekend. You know my thoughts on North Carolina, and the team's not. I don't think they're going to make the tournament, but that game was very close. I know it was 7, but it was a 2-point game with like 3 minutes to go.
How will it be with an NCAA tournament without Kentucky or North Carolina, Scott?
Well, at least we got Duke. No, just kidding. Looking at the tournament, truth is people love the Blue Bloods for ratings, and I'm sure that the NCAA will find a way to try to sneak maybe Carolina in as a bubble team to get in. I don't really care. I'm just there for the upsets and the chaos and whether or not North Carolina's there. I root for North Carolina. I said after the first game of the year, this team's not making the tournament. And I still hold that. So at the end of the day, I am a basketball purist. So as long as you get good content, I don't care what teams are playing. It might be a little bit, controversial, or it'll sound like a man without a team or a home. But you give me a matchup between two good teams in March, I'm a happy guy. I think you'd agree with that.
I would not. I would agree with if I've got an angle that I play, and I've got an advantage. I would like to see that game.
I kind of just meant by as a fan, but I guess from a betting perspective, yes, an edge helps. But as a fan, I'll sit down in front of the TV and I'll watch anything in terms of college basketball. So I really don't care.
The problem with being a sports bettor for 40 years, Scott,
you can't view it without betting it.
I've got a lot of my fandom just drained away from me. I'm sorry to say it. I don't watch a lot of games if I don't have action on it.
You've been doing this a lot longer than I have, so maybe 20 years down the road, I'll feel the same way you do.
Yes.
but I can still turn on a random college basketball game on Friday. I watched like a half of Marshall, Western Kentucky. Why? Because it was on TV.
Right.
That's why I watched it. So I love college basketball. And yeah, so even though this game doesn't involve any teams I actually care about, I'll probably be watching this game.
Well, now I will say that I watch a lot of college basketball, but I watch it from a research standpoint. And
Yeah.
I watch it about what they're going to do and how they match up with other teams. So, yeah, for this one, I got to go Square City here, buddy, in the Yum Center.
I think the injuries really don't help Florida State because they're not just two guys who are
Right.
role players. Those are two very important players to Florida State's rotation.
I don't think the line has reflected those injuries at all. So
I think it's starting to, but I do think this line should be, with assuming both of them are not going to play, this line should be around 4.5.
I was thinking we might make it to 5 if we get an announcement early in the day about the status there. But yeah, I like it. 2.5. Load up on Louisville. I called that a solid play, and a little better than a lean as far as the over goes. I think the over is a solid play too.
I'd lean over, but I'm not fully invested because I do think that Florida State's offense might struggle without those two.
Correct. That's what holds me back at this point. So.
But I do really like Louisville.
So let's talk about the other one, Scott. Let's talk about the big one here. You got your Baylor Bears entertaining the Kansas Jayhawks.
My stance still holds. Do you still agree with my stance about 3 weeks ago that it's Gonzaga, Baylor, and then everybody else?
I don't think that's a hot take, Scott.
It has. No, I'm saying like nothing in the last 3 weeks has changed that from anybody. In fact, I think it might have widened the gap because Kansas ended up losing to Oklahoma State. A couple of other teams lost. Gonzaga and Baylor still just keep running through teams.
Yeah,
Baylor wins on the road at A&M. I mean, at A&M, at Texas Tech, in Lubbock. I mean, those two teams are just so much better than everyone else. It's really just crazy.
That was a good win. Although, Scott, that was a pretty much that was a coin flip for the first 33 minutes basically.
Yeah, and then Baylor blew it open on a run late in the second half. But I'm just throwing it out there though that was supposed to be Baylor's huge test. We were both trying to speculate on when Baylor might lose. I said that this game against Texas Tech made a lot of sense on the spot. But no, Baylor passed the test, and Gonzaga hasn't had a test, but at St. Mary's, I know St. Mary's having a down year. That game was never in doubt for about the last 30 minutes.
Well, that's the problem with the Zags playing in the West Coast Conference. Is
they never get challenged, but
you never know what you've got with this team. You see them, they'll have a couple of high-profile games that they do well in, and this year it was, over the taking care of business against KU. But
KU and West Virginia.
I don't put KU and West Virginia in the same category.
No, but I'm saying that besides Kansas, they have challenged themselves out of conference.
Right. No, it's and it's a weird year, but
beat Iowa also.
That's right. They do have a win over Iowa. That's right. I forgot.
But Gonzaga, I bet them a week into the season. I watched them play, and I said this team is one of the best offensive teams I've ever seen. And nothing has changed that. I think Gonzaga, from a pure efficiency perspective, I compared them to the 90s running Rebels teams. And I know the star power might not be there. You don't have your Greg Anthonys. You don't have your Grandma Maz on the roster. But I do really think this Gonzaga team is the best offensive team I've seen in a long time.
Well, I'd have a lot better answer for you if they wouldn't have had their game with Baylor canceled.
That is true.
That would have been that. It really would have given us a touchstone, I think, for both of these teams. For tonight, who you got?
For this one, Baylor's going to win, but the spread is huge. Mm-hmm. And I'm don't get me wrong, I'm not high on Kansas. I think Kansas is a good Sweet 16 fringe Elite 8 team. I think Baylor is almost a shoo-in for the Final Four. But oh boy, that's a lot of points.
I would like I would like some Elias Sports Bureau type of stat to let us know the last time KU was a 9-point dog.
I really have no idea,
I'm
guessing
it's been a minute.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often in the Bill Self era. But if I really had to look at this game, I'm probably going to lean to the over. It's a very, very small lean. Just I really don't like anything about this game from a betting perspective. I think maybe if you want Baylor first half, if you think Baylor just comes out and just smacks them in Waco, I think they'll get off to a fast start. But I guess I'll lean over because I don't think Kansas's defense is very good.
Kansas's defense is not very. I'm sorry, what now?
At least from what I saw from them lately, I don't think they've played good defense lately. I'll rephrase that. They have had sparks this year where they have played good defense, but when they faced off against good guard play from opposing teams, I'm thinking Cade Cunningham against Oklahoma State, that type of situation, their defense has not looked as great against very, very solid backcourts. And I do think that'll be a problem. There's one thing Texas is very good at. They have very good guards. I think Oklahoma State has very good guards as well. Gonzaga, of course. They ended up beating Texas Tech with McClung by 1 point, barely won the game. I just think Kansas has struggled against teams with good backcourts. And I think that Baylor has one of the best backcourts in the entire country.
Yeah,
I'll rephrase the bad defense because statistically their defense is good.
yeah,
but I'm saying
70 points 3 times.
No, I know. I'm saying that in terms of that, I do think that their defense is fine, but they have faced some good backcourts and they really have struggled. And I think that that'll be a problem in this matchup.
Yeah, Baylor's got 3 two-way guards that just keep coming at you in waves.
Well, Garrett's been injured for a decent portion of the year as well. And he's been their best defender. So that also could play a factor onto why I'm not a big fan of Kansas's backcourt defense. But with the likes of who Baylor throws at you, you got to be fully ready because that backcourt is something.
Now, let me tell you a little story, buddy.
I'll lean to the points with Kansas.
Yeah.
I'm going to lean to the points with Kansas, but it's just – it wouldn't surprise me if Baylor smacks him, but I can't look at Kansas and say, oh, this team's going to lose by double digits. I just can't. I think this game will be close. I think Baylor will win probably by around 6.
Scott Drew cannot cover against the Jayhawks in Waco. Period.
That's a fact.
10-2 are the Jayhawks in the Scott Drew era in Baylor.
So they covered twice.
0-5 against the spread as a favorite, buddy.
That's as a favorite. Okay. Yeah, I'll take the points, but I think the spread should be closer to 5.5.
Yes.
So I think that this spread's too high.
5.5 or 6 should be the number here. The other thing is you've got to factor in the rest and the fatigue. This is a KU team that lost to Oklahoma State, I think, on Wednesday.
They had the Iowa State game canceled, so at extra time.
The Iowa State game canceled over the weekend, right? So they've had some time to not only rest, but to have time to game plan and to scheme. Meanwhile, Baylor coming off that tough game against Texas Tech that was just 2 days ago. So I like the legs for KU. I think they I think they might have found something there in the middle with David McCormick. He put up 25 against Oklahoma State. I think he's going to be a factor in this game. I'll take KU in the points. I don't want to touch that total at all. It should be. I'll tell you what, though, it should be an opportunity for a correlated parlay, depending on how you think the game's going to go.
Do you think it'll be a high-scoring game or a low-scoring game?
Here's the deal: if you think Baylor's going to cover the number, then you should play the over. If you think KU is going to beat the number, you probably should lean under. That's my advice there. It depends on what you think is going to happen in this game. I think obviously either one of the possibilities going the other way certainly is there, but I think it's a good chance where you're getting good value on a correlated parlay in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it could get a little tricky because both offenses have been very good this year. But, I mean, you talked about how good Kansas's defense is, giving up 67.5 points per game. Baylor's giving up 61.1.
Even better. Yep.
This team is so good. I don't think it's Gonzaga good. I think Gonzaga is still a little bit better. But I don't even know how good Kansas is in comparison to the rest of the country. I think Kansas is probably a top 5 team.
Yeah. See, I'm not even sure about that. I mean, I guess
that's what I'm saying. I don't know.
I think they're top 10. I'm not sure they're top 5, but then again, you have to sit down and make a list of who's better. And
you think Kansas is better than Texas, even though they lost to Texas at home by about 30?
See that? Right. Yeah, I do.
And that's the tricky part.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but yeah, for this one, I'll lean Kansas, and well, I'm gonna go slightly against your correlated parlay theory, but at the end of the day, I'm not gonna play this. I'm just gonna watch it. I'll lean to the over.
You're gonna go Kansas in the over, huh, buddy?
Yeah, I'll lean to the over, but I'm not fully thrilled about it.
All right. I'm fully invested on KU in the points here, and because I've put the correlated parlay theory out there, I'll
You have to
play
stick with it.
KU in the points in the under.
Cool.
All right, guys, that's our college basketball show for today. Like I said, this is a quality, not quantity day, Scott. We don't have a ton of college basketball. They've kind of let the NBA take charge of that, and which reminds me, we're going to be back, of course, talking about our NBA games here on the next video. But that's going to do it for our college basketball / NFL show. As always, if you're looking for more information on these games or any other games, don't forget to stop by and check out winnersandwhiners.com, your one-stop shop for all things sports betting related. As for myself, for Scott Reichel, for all of us over here at Winners and Winers, appreciate you guys watching today. Wishing you nothing but the best of luck on your picks. Hope every one of those tickets in your pocket turns into cash money back at the window. Guys, have a great day. Don't forget to stick around, check out our NBA show. We'll see you next time on Today in Sports Betting. Take care, everybody.